Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that's all about speaking your truth, sharing your stories, and sparking the conversations that matter most. I'm your host, Rodney W. Collins, and this is the Speak On It Show. On this show, we dive deep into the thoughts, experiences, and ideas that shape our world. It's a place where voices are heard, perspectives are celebrated, and discussions are not just encouraged, but cherished. Whether it's culture, politics, personal growth, or just life's everyday adventures, we're here to explore it all. We've got engaging interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and sometimes we might even stir the pot a little bit. Speak On The Show is where we challenge the status quo, celebrate diversity, and engage in conversations that make us think, laugh, and grow. So get ready to be inspired, get ready to connect, and most importantly, get ready to speak your truth. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. It's time for the Speak On It Show with your host, Rodney W. Collins. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's me, Rodney W. Collins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come to you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there? 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific every Saturday morning here on YouTube, Rodney W. Collins channel, YouTube, and Facebook. You can follow me live, go back, like, share, subscribe, do what you do with all the other people you may follow on YouTube, Facebook, so on, so forth. Good morning, Brad Hoodie, my brother. Good morning, appreciate you. So, we're in the 22nd day of February, which means we're in the 22nd day of what is considered Black History Month. Now, Black history is every day for me, and we're going to get into that a little later. 24/7, 365 is what I call it. Black history is every day for me and those like me. But I got today's show, I'm going to change it up a little bit. We're not going to get into all the politics and what's going on with the, that new administration or anything like that, because we do enough of that. Today, we're going to concentrate on Black history. And when I say concentrate on Black history, I'm going to break down to you the different impacts of what Black history has done through multiple different aspects of what we enjoy on a daily basis. Not specific people, names will be brought up, but it's not going to be specific. It's the impact that Black history has on not only this country, but within this world. So we're going to get into that today. But what I want to start off with is this. In this Black History Month that we're celebrating, yesterday, February 21st, 1965. February 21st, 1965. A lot of y'all like, what's important about that date? This is what's important about that date. He is what's important about that date. February 21st, 1965 is the day Malcolm X was assassinated. 60 years ago yesterday, which he was assassinated at the age of 39. Which would have made him 99 years old yesterday. Well, not 99, but he was 39, so yeah, 99. But I bring this up, and you say I wear my glasses today in honor of him to start the show. Because anybody that knows me knows I'm a very big, I'm not going to say a fan, but I acknowledge the standing in this world of a Malcolm X. I acknowledge the greatness of a Malcolm X. Now, you don't have to be Muslim or anything like that to appreciate the greatness of what this man stood for, who he was, and why. And this is the biggest thing. Why they, and I say they because it included the New York Police Department, the CIA, the FBI, and even the Nation of Islam at the time, wanted to get rid of his voice, wanted to eliminate his standing amongst the Black community, wanted to get rid of his voice in our community at that time. February 21st, 1965. This great man was taken from us way too soon. And we hear people say that, oh, he's gone too soon. They left too soon, but this man was taken from us way, way too soon. When I think of Malcolm X, and I think of, the greatness in which he carried himself, the greatness in which he spoke about equality and the way and the mannerisms that he had about going about that, whether it be by any means necessary and so forth, and calling out those that looked like him that weren't about the struggle as he was, not because they had different views, because of the way they did it. We have those same views now about people. We call them out their name. I'm not going to use those names. But we call them out their names because we don't agree to disagree and things like that. But when we talk about Malcolm X, 39 years old, taken away from us, I sit back at times and I wonder, where would we be if the greatness of this man would have still been able to put his message out past the age of 39? Think about that this weekend. February 21st, 1965. Malcolm X was taken away from us by our government. Let's just call it what it is, by our government. Yeah. Really makes you wonder. Really makes you wonder. James Battle, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you. So I want to get into something real quick before we get into the history and everything like that, because two things that happened. I want to start off with this one. And I'm going to take my glasses off so I can read my notes. There's a new movie that came out called it's Captain America. Everybody knows Captain America, with the shield and the uniform with the big star on it and all that. Kevin Banks, my brother, good morning. Captain America from the comic books and different stuff like that. Trent Brands, good morning, my brother, appreciate it. But there's a new movie that came out, and the shift in who Captain America and who is portraying Captain America has certain people in America in an uproar. Let's just talk about it. So Anthony Mackie, and I don't know all the characters that he's played in these Marvel movies or whatever it may be, but I guess he was the Falcon at one time, whatever. But this is the part that really throws me, is we have people in this country, in the world, who are in an uproar about a fictional character. And they're in an uproar about a fictional character because this character is being portrayed as Captain America is a black man. And there are people, and I'm bringing this up in Black History Month because I want y'all to understand this. There are people who are in an uproar simply because you have an actor playing a role of Captain America, where you have these people's mindsets that the only person that should ever be Captain America should be white. Should be white. But the fact that they've put an African-American black male in this role, you have people in an uproar about an actor playing a part. We had it with the Little Mermaid. I think it was Chloe Bailey played that part. They were upset about that. There's certain things that people of non-color just can't get past. Case in point, I'll go here too. The halftime show that I kind of touched on last week, we're not going to go in depth, but there were people complaining because the halftime show didn't have any diversity within what Kendrick Lamar did in his halftime show. They said it was all black, and they were upset. How many times have we watched movies that there's no black characters? How many, you know what? I'm not going to go down that road. We know that this all deals with what we've talked about over and over again, and it deals with that white supremacy mindset. The only person that can be Captain America by their standards has to be white. Has to be white. They're not mad at They're mad at the actor who's portraying him. They're not mad at the executive producer. They're not mad at the writers. They're not mad at those people. They're mad at the actor. Why? Because the people that produced it and wrote it and everything are white. So let's lash out to the one who's portraying the role that he was asked to fulfill rather than the people who asked him to fulfill the role. Julian Jones, good morning. Good morning. And with that, let's get into something real world that people should be upset about. Rather than people worrying about Captain America, who's a fictional character, let's talk about this great American here. General CQ Brown, Jr. General Charles Q. Brown, Jr. is the second chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of color. Only the second of color. In the long history of the military, this is only the second person of color to serve in the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he was fired yesterday. He was fired not because of anything he didn't do, not because he wasn't qualified, not because he did anything other than push diversity, equity, inclusion within military ranks, which is something that's always been done, but him at the top, pushing it, trying to get rid of white supremacists, as General Milley was doing during his time. That's the only thing that he did that they found wrong, that they want to stand on. And they haven't come out and said it. They didn't want to stand on that they fired him yesterday. Removed him is what they call it. They don't say fired. They removed him as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Prior to becoming the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he was the 22nd Chief of Staff of the Air Force back on October 1st of 2023. Was October 1st, 2023 is when he became the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. Prior to that, he was 22nd Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force. These are the things that people need to get away from, this fictional stuff, and let's look at reality. Let's look at reality. This man rose through the ranks over 40 years of dedicated and honorable service, and he's being removed, fired. For what reason? They haven't given you one because they have none. And if they tell you the true reason why, we know why. This is a black man. This is a black man at the top of the military industrial complex, all joint. This is what we're dealing with. And people are worried about the color of Captain America. This is Captain America. Terry Perkins, they don't watch black movies, therefore they're not aware of us. No, they're not like us. Good morning, my brother. Appreciate it. OT, good morning. Happy Black History Month. Yeah, Black History Month. How about Black History? Happy Black History. Ever. April Week, good morning. Good morning, sis. Appreciate you. Oh, miss. How you doing? Buenos dias a todos. I can't speak, man. I don't know. Good morning to you too. Trim Brands, guilty of service while black. Yeah, they want all white males, and they fired the first female ever to be the chief of staff of the Navy. They fired her, removed her as well. Let me get it right. They removed her as well. These are the things that are going on around us that we see, that people want to get upset about a fictional character, but when we have reality looking them in the face, they want to remove that fictional character just like they removed him. Not for any cause, not for any reason, just because. Deborah Harris, good morning. Appreciate you. Just because of the melanin content of his skin. Now, I've dealt with someone who was the chief of staff of the Air Force, and then he became chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Ron Fogelman. white male. I met him when he was a 1-star in Korea many years ago. Very nice man. Very nice man. But you see the transgression, the progression of these people. You know when you're serving who these people are, and you see the levels that they can ascend to. I seen him as a 1-star. I seen how he interacted with people. I'm talking about General Fogelman. And I knew eventually maybe he wouldn't be the chief of staff or the chairman, joint chief of staff, but I knew he would be in charge of the Air Force as a whole one day just because of his interactions with people. So in order to get to that level, there's something about you that has to stand out. And with General Brown, I'm sure, because I've read some of the things that people have said about him while he was serving, and there was the utmost respect for this man. But what we're finding out is this administration doesn't want anybody that looks like us that is smart beyond the point of what they think we should be to be in charge of anything. To be in charge of anything. James Bowder replaced him with a guy named Raising Cane. Yes, Raising Cane. His last name is Cane. They call him Raising Cane. You know, all of them have these nicknames when they're pilots and everything like that. But the thing about Raising Cane is he's retired. He's only a 3-star. But they're bringing him back to active duty to become the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Why? Because Donald Trump said that he liked him. And when he was over in a deployment at one time, he said he actually put on a MAGA hat. Now, these are reports. I don't know if they're true or not. But this is the man they're bringing back out of retirement to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Why? Because he will follow his agenda and he wants loyalty from those people in there. These are the things that are going on that nobody wants to talk about. They are scared of the competition. They know the intelligence and integrity they are up against. They operate on fear and create fear to stop the competition. Exactly. So for me, General Charles Q. Brown Jr., thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your professionalism throughout your 40 plus years of service. Thank you for breaking barriers during your time in service. And I want to say thank you for accepting the position of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff when it was offered to you. And thank you for the job you've done throughout it all. Your integrity will always outweigh the fact that they removed you from this office simply because you're black. Simply because you're black. Kevin Banks, they took the definition of DEI and flipped it by the definition of DEI. They would all be DEI hires, woefully incompetent and unqualified for the positions that they're in now, to include the president. They were only hired because of the color of their skin. I don't need to say any more on that. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Pay attention. Pay attention. While we're caught up in, these different debates that we have and things like that, these things are going on. And there's some of us, and I'll say some, who don't think these things affect us because maybe they didn't serve in the military. Deborah Harris, thank you, General Brown. Because they didn't serve in the military, they don't understand how the military works, anything like that. But just know this. If you don't know anything about the military, you don't have to. Just know this. And I'll break it down in this simple term. This individual rose to the highest level of what you can rise to in the military. And he was removed, not because of job performance, not because of any type of indiscretions, simply because this president decided that he wanted someone to look like him and be loyal to him without guardrails in that position rather than this man that he knew stood on integrity. And I want you to remember this. Donald Trump put him up at the time to become the chairman, chief of staff of the Air Force. He nominated him. Tells you everything you need to know. So you can get so far. But when you get so far, I got to bring you back down a notch. And just remember this. This man that they just removed is more qualified than the Secretary of Defense. Let me say that for the people in the cheap seats in the back. General Charles Q. Brown Jr. is more qualified than your current Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Let that marinate. While you think about why they let him go, let that marinate. Let's move on. Let's take a little. You know what? Let's go ahead and get into this. We're talking about Black history. And I want to get into this Black history because I think this month we've been concentrating on so many other things dealing with what's going on in the real world right now and all the things going on that we've lost focus of what we celebrate and our impacts and different things like that. But I want to rehash some things about what Black history is all about for us in this country and in this world. And it's a lot of reading I'm going to have to do, so y'all bear with me. But I want you to understand the impacts of what we have. Not that you don't know, but I think sometimes we need to reintegrate and rethink the impacts that we've had, not only in this country, but in this world. OT, I would like to celebrate you for Black history, for speaking on the truth and bringing insight to the world. Thank you. You are the definition of Black history. My brother, man, appreciate you. Don't do that to me this morning, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for that. Appreciate you. Just doing what I need to do, bro. Just doing what I need to do, what God has blessed me to do. But there's this one quote that I wrote, and it equates to what we're talking about when we talk about Black history. And here it is. Black history is not just a chapter in time. It is the heartbeat of resilience, the soul of perseverance, and the power of unyielding greatness. Black history is not just a chapter in time. It is the heartbeat of resilience, the soul of perseverance, and the power of unyielding greatness. Now, when we talk about Black history, let's just take it here for a minute. We look at Black history like we only, and it's kind of been conditioned to us that Black history is a 28 or 29 days in February every year. Every year. Black history is every day. Black history has been embedded in the fabric of this country each and every day that it has existed. Once upon a time, we were taught to make change from the inside. Now the people of color are it out. We need to figure out how to make changes from the outside. Watch out for the infiltrators, difficult planning, and strategizing ahead. Yes, and as I've always said, you're an ally or you're a lie. Are you with me or you're against me? Because if you're against me, watch out. Because we rolling. We're going to be rolling. And if you get run over, shame on you. As I said, Black history is embedded in this country, in the fabric of this country, which tells you why they want to eliminate it, why they want to move it out, why they want to get rid of it in any way possible. Black history is a lifetime. Yeah. Because what we know to be true is this. We talk about, as I mentioned in the beginning, Malcolm X. We talk about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We talk about Rosa Parks. We talk about all these different people who made significant impacts in what Black history is for this country. But our resilience is one of the things that I think is commonly overlooked. And I want to read this here. It says, resilience reimagined, the unbreakable spirit of Black Americans. And it goes on with this. Throughout history, Black people in America have consistently demonstrated a profound ability to transform their pain and struggle into power, unity, and innovation. This resilience is deeply rooted in African cultural traditions that emphasize collective survival and strength in community. Even during the brutal days of enslavement, when families were torn apart and basic human rights stripped away, Black people found ways to preserve their dignity and humanity. The creation of spirituals, storytelling, and oral traditions became a form of resistance, a way to pass down history, wisdom, and hope. These acts of defiance, small yet profound, were a testament to the unyielding spirit of Black people in the face of unthinkable oppression. I want you to think about this before I get in there. OT, every culture benefits from us, period. Well, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. I want you to think about this. Everything that has ever been taught to us about history in this country for people that look like us, it all revolves around slavery. It all revolves around slavery. We were more than slaves. We were more than slaves before we came here, and we were more than slaves when we were here. The chains and the bondage, that did not change who we were. It changed the condition in who we were, but it didn't change who we were to our core. Black history in this country, if people would step back for a minute and take their emotions out of the fact of understanding everything that African Americans, Blacks have done in this country in spite of, you may have a whole different dichotomy of things. But here's the biggest thing. The reason they don't want to look at that in spite of is because if they continue to look at you and treat you as if you're descendants of only slaves, then they can continue to treat you like you are a slave at this time. And a lot of us, and I'm going to say a lot of us, fall into that because we allow them to treat us as such. Let's just be honest. There's certain times that we cower down. There's certain times that we step back because we don't want our Black to be intimidating to some people because we don't want them to think that we're more educated. You know, when we talk about, code switching. Case in point, code switching. Code switching didn't just start. Code switching was going on during slavery times. Why? Because it was a form of survival. It was a form of survival. Yes, boss. Sure is, boss. We're going to do this, boss. That's all because it was about survival at that time. The code switching we do today is about choice, not about survival, but about getting to the next level. There's different levels to these things. When code switching was done then, it was about staying alive and being able to fight the next day. Code switching now is about getting that advancement, getting up, getting moved up, getting looked at differently than your peers that look like you. So I will say this about code switching. It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, and we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. Edward Allen, very dangerous to surround yourself with yes men, especially in the military space. I see a lot of bad decisions on the rise. And oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of bad decisions in the military. And I know we're digressing, a lot of bad decisions. And also, there's going to be a lot of people in places that we never thought we would be, supporting people that we never thought we would. And I'm just going to throw one name out: Russia. Russia. And I'm going to leave it at that. Josh Boyd, my brother. Good morning, my brother. Good morning. Black History Month. Yes, sir. So I say that because our resilience. And it goes in here to say, it says, furthermore, the notion of overcoming is often associated with achieving external success. But for Black Americans, overcoming has always been about reclaiming a sense of self-worth and identity. The beauty of Blackness, the power of Black culture, and the strength of Black families and communities have been crucial forces in dismantling the structures of oppression. The pride Black people take in their heritage, whether through celebrating African traditions, embracing their natural hair, or creating iconic forms of music and dance, has been a direct challenge to the narrative that seek to degrade them. Sandra. Maybe the lily white invasion is a blessing. It may force people of color to work together. A division among two is always broken by the third party. The two will turn on the third, thus causing unity may be forced, but unity is the end goal. And I'm so glad you said that, because here's the thing, and you've hit on something I want to touch on. When we hear them refer to minorities in this country, they say Asian. They say European. But they say black and brown people. Black and brown people. That should tell you everything you need to know. Black and brown people. I'm more brown than I am black, if you look at my melanin content. But by description of who my ancestors are in this country, I'm considered black, and Latinos, Hispanics are considered brown. The dichotomy of what they're talking about tells you everything you need to know. They're trying to send all the Haitians that came here, who fled their land because of war and unrest and all that were able to come here, and Joe Biden signed this thing. Now they're trying to eliminate that and ship them back to Haiti, a war-torn country. But as I mentioned before, they want to let all South African white farmers that want to come here with no problem. OT, we need to cover you and embrace you. I appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that. Because see, I've come to realize that as time has gone on in my life, and I'm going to digress here for a minute. As time has gone on in my life, I've been in spaces where I was looked at differently. I've been in spaces when I wasn't treated right. I've been in spaces where I was looked at not because of what I know, but because of who I am, that I'm less than. Everyone of color can say the same thing from your experiences. But there comes a time with our experiences where we got to put our experiences, good and bad, into action. And I think now is the wake-up call that our actions have to be louder than our responses. Our actions should not be reactions. They should be actions to do what we need to do to get them to understand we're not going to take this lying down. I hear people say all the time, I am not my ancestors. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Do not try to distinguish yourself from your ancestors saying, I am not my ancestors. You're not going to whip me. You are your ancestors. You're a product of your ancestors. Stop trying to distance yourself from your ancestors and embrace what your ancestors overcame in order for you to stand here and say out of your mouth, as ignorant as it may sound, I am not my ancestors. And I understand a lot of people will say that because they say, I'm not going to be beat. You're not going to beat me. You're not going to treat me that way. You're not going to sick dogs on me. And you don't have to downplay your ancestors' strife and struggle to uplift what you're talking about. It doesn't make sense. Am I my ancestors? Every damn one of them. Whether I knew them or not, I'm every one of them. I'm a product of every ancestor that ever walked on the face of this earth that looks like me, for the simple fact the strife and the struggle that they fought to allowed me to come here and stand here today in front of this camera to tell you about the inconsistencies that's going on in this country. Why Black history is so important in this country and in this world. I don't take this as just something I can do. I take this as something that needs to be done because these are the things we need to hear. When we talk about Black history, we got to get out of our own ways sometimes and stop thinking that we only got to put on the kente cloth and the signs and the fists and all this 28 days out of the year. I want to see it in March. I want to see it in April. I want to see it in May. I want to see it throughout the whole year, 24/7, 365. We got to stop being comfortable with the fact that we're allowing them to dictate when we celebrate our greatness and our Blackness. Brian Hoodie, we wouldn't be here if they didn't endure. No. So when you see me pay homage to a Malcolm X, no, I've never met Malcolm X. Never met him a day in my life. But the stories I read, his autobiography that I read, tells me everything I need to know about me trying to be better than I am. Will I ever reach it? No. But it gives me something to shoot for. And when we say I'm not my ancestors, the problem with that is you're diminishing everything they did in the fight to get you where you are today. That's like saying my mother or my father are no good. I got here by myself. Everything I've done by myself. Let that marinate. Think about that. Your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, they all were in this fight. And we've chosen to throw our hands up and not be in the fight for what reason? I'm not my ancestors. Some of us wouldn't have been able to deal with the things that our ancestors dealt with. Let's just be real. And I'm not saying you soft. The mentality that you had to have at that time, a lot of us can never come out of our mouths and say that we would be able to have. If you're in it, you're in it. Some of us don't even have the mentality to fight the fight right now. Melvin Jackson, good morning, my brother. Some of us don't want to have a fight right now. You can't say that. Oh, man, them white people going to be mad at you. I don't care. Because, see, I want to say this. Now, I'm going to put it out here like this. If you know me, what I say, what I report, how I feel about my blackness should not be a threat to you. But if you don't know me, everything I say steps on your toes. Everything I say is a threat to you. Everything about my being is a threat to you. Because if you know me, you know me. And you know that I've been in this fight a long time. I may not have been as boisterous. I may not have been able to yell it from the mountaintop, but I've been in this fight. I didn't wake up yesterday and decide that I'm going to fight for the blackness of this country through any means I can. No. This goes way back. And when we talk about the black history in this country, what we need to realize is this. The less we talk about it, the less we talk about the historical impacts that blacks have had in this country, the easier it is for them to wipe it away. Why? Because we've fallen asleep at the wheel. I've said this many times. We've fallen asleep at the wheel. And the reason we've fallen asleep at the wheel, we got comfortable. Because I'm not my ancestors. That's why we've gotten comfortable with the wheel. Because we want to come out our mouths and say, I'm not my ancestors. You're right. We're not our ancestors. We're not in the fight. We've gotten comfortable because we got the cars and the houses, the things that they didn't have, the things that they were given only because they were good slaves. And through generations, they found a way. And now that we've got a way, we found a way. Now that all these things are happening around us and all these firings and people losing their jobs and taking away these rights and benefits and all this, now what's going on? What are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? No, we're not our ancestors. We're not even a tenth of what our ancestors are or were. Nowhere close. Russell Jenkins, good morning. So when we talk about black history in this country, eliminate that I'm not my ancestors out of your mouth. Eliminate that. Oh, I wouldn't have been no slave. Shut up. Those who say that, now I'm gonna be real here. Those that say I'm not my ancestors, those that say, I wouldn't have been a slave, you wouldn't have been able to beat me, or all these kind of stuff, would have been the Tim Scotts, the Byron Donalds. Talk to me. The Ben Carsons. The friend that you know that wears the MAGA hat proudly. Those are the ones. Those are the main ones that would have said, I'm not my ancestors. No, you're not my ancestors because you choose to go over there. Not for survival, but for convenience. Because it's going to benefit you more than the masses. But I digress. Let me get back into this. World Black history. Politics will be profoundly different, lacking the powerful movements, voices, and leaders that have shaped much of the political landscape today. Black history is inextricably linked to the fight for civil rights, social justice, and the fundamental ideas of equality and democracy, the political progress we take for granted. The expansion of voting rights, the desegregation of schools, the rise of Black political power, and the ongoing struggle for justice would not have occurred without the pivotal contributions of Black leaders and activists. See, let's clear this up. Women would not have voting rights without the push by Blacks in the political process to get us to be able to vote. If voting wasn't just for them, women couldn't vote at the same time Blacks couldn't vote. Let's talk about it. Let's act like if it's only done, the Voting Rights Act is only because of Blacks. Women were involved in that. The reason that LGBTQ folks have rights now is because of everything that blacks did in the history of this country to give them the right to get married. Same-sex marriage. These were all involved in the politics of what black history has done in this country for you. See, I hate when people get up here and they think that black history is only affecting blacks. Black history is embedded in the culture of this country. And then when you start receiving that and understanding it, then you realize you have benefited from black history in this country and around the world. The civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s, led by figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and John Lewis, reshaped the American political system. Their tireless activism, protests, and legal challenges led to landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These laws not only dismantled the legal structures of segregation, but also created a foundation for the political participation of marginalized groups across this nation. Without these victories, Black Americans would have been kept outside of the political process, unable to advocate for their rights and interests. That's the Black history of the political process. Without Black history, the landscape of education in the United States will be starkly different. Black Americans have played an essential role in transforming education not only for themselves, but for the entire nation. The fight for access to quality education, the establishment of schools and universities, and the contributions of Black scholars and activists have helped shape an education system that strives, though imperfectly, toward inclusion and equity. Without the influence of Black history, many of the educational advances we take for granted today might never have been realized, and the pursuit of equal educational opportunities would be far behind. Don't get it twisted. We weren't allowed to be in the same schools at one time, but we fought for that. Segregation, integration, all those things. You remember the old colored folks fountain and the white folks fountain that you don't have anymore? They don't want to admit because then they would have to recognize that they are not as important as they think. No. One of the most profound impacts of Black history on education has been the fight for desegregation. The landmark case Brown versus Board of Education in 1954 was a direct result of the activism and legal battles fought by Black leaders, lawyers, and parents. The case, which declared state-sponsored segregation in public schools unconstitutional, was the culmination of years of work by Black civil rights organizations and individuals such as Thurgood Marshall, who later became the first Black Supreme Court justice, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. This legal victory was pivotal, not only in breaking down legal barriers to educational equality, but also in inspiring the broader civil rights movement. Without this struggle and victory, the process of integrating schools might have taken much longer, and children of color might still be enduring the effects of an unequal, racially divided education system. Ruby Bridges. Remember Ruby Bridges? See, those people that didn't want Ruby Bridges in their school, those people that didn't want Ruby Bridges to be able to come to school, that she had to have escorts, police escorts to go into the school. You know them people still alive, right? You know the kids that she went to school with are still alive to this day, right? These things are not that long ago. But we act like, we skip everything from now back to slavery. Or we concentrate on when the Civil Rights Act or the Voting Rights Act happened. These things have been being fought for years and years and years. There's so much history that they want to overlook. They only want to concentrate on Malcolm X. They only want to concentrate on Reverend Dr. Martin King or Rosa Parks or those one big names. But there's so many people that died in this fight that we don't know their names. But I'm not like my ancestors. I'm not my ancestors. No, you're not. Nowhere close. Without Black history, the military will be vastly different, both in its composition and its evolution. Black Americans have had profound influence on the U.S. military, playing key roles in both combat and the broader social movements that shape military policies. The struggles, sacrifices, and triumphs of Black service members have been central to the progress of the armed forces, from fighting for their right to serve to challenging racial discrimination within the ranks. Without their contributions, the military would likely be less diverse, less integrated, and less reflective of the society it serves. 6888, the female movie that came out, the 6888, about how they went over there and did what they had to do to make sure that the soldiers got their mail for the morale, the Tuskegee Airmen that they want to eliminate, and so many more that we don't know about because they don't want to talk about it. Because when they talk about it, it shows the greatness on what impact they had, not only in the military, but in this country being free. During wartime, Black soldiers have played critical roles in defending the nation, from the American Revolution to the Civil War, World Wars I and II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and beyond. Black soldiers have served with distinction despite the racial prejudice they often faced. The famed Tuskegee Airmen and all-Black squadron during World War II overcame immense challenges to become one of the most highly respected groups of pilots in U.S. history. Their success demonstrated that racial prejudice had no bearing on the capabilities and bravery of Black soldiers. Without the contributions of these trailblazing figures, the U.S. military would not have seen the same advances in its effectiveness and integration. James Battle, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, was one of the kids at Ruby Bridges School. Owner of the Dallas Cowboys. Got players out there entertaining him every Sunday. But when you ask him about it, when they showed the picture where he was in the crowd yelling and everything, he chalked it up to, I was young. Were you? You were young enough to know right from wrong. But you chose to go with the wrong. Jerry Jones. Thank you, pal. Without Black history, the landscape of sports would be drastically different. The impact of Black athletes, coaches, and activists has been monumental in shaping the sports world, bringing barriers and expanding the definition of athletic excellence. From the integration of leagues to the social movements within sports, Black athletes have not only revolutionized their respective sports, but also used their platforms to challenge systemic racism, promote equality, and inspire millions around the world. Battle. We would have definitely lost World War II if we didn't have the Black soldiers, sailors, and airmen. Yeah. There's a whole lot of things that would have changed if we weren't in the fight. If we weren't in the fight. But they want to overlook those things. The early 20th century would have seen a far more limited and segregated sports world without Black athletes breaking through barriers. The integration of Major League Baseball would have taken much longer, if it ever happened at all. Jackie Robinson's courageous entry into the Major League Baseball in 1947 did not just break the color barrier, it set the stage for the integration of other professional sports. Robinson's presence on the field was a pivotal moment that opened the doors for future generations of Black athletes such as Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and Satchel Paige, who became icons of the game. Without Robinson, the rich history of Black players who redefined baseball, both as athletes and as cultural trailblazers, would not exist. The NBA would be completely different without Black athletes. The greatness of players like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James has transformed basketball from a niche sport to a global phenomenon. Black athletes didn't just elevate the quality of play, they made basketball a cultural force, influencing fashion, music, and lifestyle. Football, too. From pioneers like Fritz Pollard and Bobby Marshall in the early years of the NFL to legendary figures like Jim Brown, Jerry Rice, and Deion Sanders. I can go on. We know the sports. We know the impact that Black history has had in the sports world. But people need to ask this question. While we're so ingrained in the product on the field, and they decide to take in racism out of the end zone because one person is attending the game, what does that tell you? Not about the players, but about the owners over top of these sports figures. These sports figures are making $40, $50 million a year to play these sports, depending on the league and everything like that. But at the end of the day, they're getting paid $40 and $50 million, but how much are the owners making? The college athletes, before they were able to get NIL deals, all the people they filled the stands with, these Black athletes out there performing each and every day that they had games for nothing. And what was their education? that they never even forced them to do because they were traveling so much. So they usually graduate with like a 2.4. They weren't invested in the educational aspect. They were invested in getting to the next level. And the NCAA took advantage of them for years and years and years. And then you had people arguing, well, I don't think they should get paid. It's going to change the conduct of the sport. All those different things that have changed the landscape. You know, you never heard any white athlete talking about NIL when it first came out. But now you have white athletes getting NIL deals just like the black athletes. The black athletes were the ones that broke the barriers on the NIL deals. And the white athletes are taking advantage of it now. Case in point, there's a guy in Duke right now that's probably going to go to the NBA, Cooper Flagg. He's taking advantage of NIL. But it was bad for football. It was bad for basketball. It was bad for college sports as a whole. By white coaches, by the white establishment. But once it was integrated, who took advantage of it just like the black athletes? The white athletes. Michelle Lynn Summerall, good morning, good morning. Althea Gibson ultimately gave us the Williams sisters. Yes. There's just as many black female athletes involved in this as there are. But there's a lot of black female athletes, black females as a whole that are included in this black history that may not be on the things that I've researched and found and printed out or anything, but we need not leave them out because they're the ones who birthed. Let's just be real now. The black women are the ones who birthed all these athletes. Black women are the ones who raised them, who made sure they had meals, who did the things they needed to do to get them to the point they're at. That's why when you see them on TV back in the day, like, hi, mom, love you. No acknowledgement to dad. Dad was there. He did what he had to do. But mom, black women, I love y'all. Often overlooked, never forgotten. Often overlooked, but never forgotten. OT, we forget about people like Blanche K. Bruce. All right. Who's that? Give us some insight, bro. Help us out. Jesse Owens made Adolf Hitler cry. He made him realize that white people are not superior. Not superior. You can't tell them that, though. Without black history, music would be vastly different. Want our rhythm, don't want our blues. They want our rhythm, they don't want our blues. Missing the profound influence and innovation that black artists, genres, and movements have brought to the world, much of what we consider modern music across genres like pop, rock, hip-hop, jazz, blues, R&B, soul, and gospel wouldn't exist in its current form without the groundbreaking contributions from black musicians. And one they left out of there, country music. Country music. Black folks were the pioneers of country music. But they stole it. They stole it in the form of, they heard us perform it, and then they took it and were able to put it on these platforms that it was more visible than what we had doing what they called the Chitlin circuit. And they grew upon it. And then they said that they owned it, not because they invented it, but because they had the more visibility of what it was at the time. And still today, they think that black folks should not be in country music. Case in point, Beyonce winning album of the year for country music. The uproar lets you know everything. Black music. A world without black history would be a world deprived of much of its cultural, artistic, intellectual, and social richness. Black history has shaped every corner of the globe, influencing art, music, literature, politics, and social movements. Without it, many of the freedoms, and I want to put this up, without it, many of the freedoms and advancements we take for granted today wouldn't exist. As much as the progress made in human rights and equality has been driven by the struggles and triumphs of black communities, in the realm of culture, without black history, we would lose the profound impact of music genres like jazz, blues, hip hop, gospel, and R&B, which have influenced everything from global pop culture to social change. Figures like Louis Armstrong, James Brown, Beyonce, and Kendrick Lamar have not only redefined music, but have shaped how we understand identity, expression, and resistance. James Brown, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, was very controversial at the time if you look back through history. James Brown, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, very controversial at the time. But when's the last time you heard somebody say that? We got comfortable. OT, what's his name? Blanche K. Bruce, first African-American to serve a full term in the U.S. Senate, elected as a Republican senator from Mississippi in 1875. He served from 1875 to 1881. And one thing, little history nugget, thank you, OT. Most African-American blacks at the time were Republicans. Most were Republicans. Without Black history, we also lose the groundbreaking contributions to science, literature, education, and innovation. Think of people like George Washington Carver, Dr. Mae Johnson, Maya Angelou, and Toni Morrison, whose work reshaped the intellectual and creative landscape. Their brilliance has contributed to the very fabric of human advancement, pushing boundaries in ways that have benefited society as a whole. Society as a whole. Not just the United States of America, society as a whole. Black history is world history. We get caught up in Black History Month being in the United States and celebrated here, but Black history is world history. We are all over the globe. All over the globe. If you've ever been out of this country, you've been to Italy, Germany, Europe, anywhere in Europe, we're there. We have a presence there. If you go down in the Caribbean, we have a presence there. We're starting to make a presence in Asia, in Europe, in China, Japan, Singapore, Thailand. It's some bumps and bruises. Some people are accepting, some aren't. Why are you here? What are you doing here? It happens. Trent Brand says, Black influence across the world. I've seen it for myself when I was stationed in Japan and TDY to different countries. There it is. Brian Hoodie, a world without Black history is the Stone Age. Exactly. The Stone Age. The Stone Age. So also in this, it says, without the fights that Black people have fought for equality, the world will be dramatically different, less just, less inclusive, and less free. The struggles for racial equality, civil rights, and social justice led by Black individuals and communities have had a profound impact, not just on the lives of Black people, but on society as a whole. These battles have reshaped legal systems, cultural norms, and political landscapes, leaving an indelible mark on the ongoing quest for freedom and justice worldwide. Civil rights and legal systems worldwide are impacted because of the fights that happened on this soil. Social movements and cultural change happen worldwide because of what happened on this soil. Education and opportunities around the world. Economic equality and labor rights around the world. Political power and representation around the world. Global influence on anti-racism and freedom around the world. Cultural impact and legacy. Interpersonal relations and social norms around the world. Without the fights that Black people have fought for equality, the world will be a far less equitable and inclusive place. These battles have not only shaped the lives of Black Americans, but have also had profound impact on the broader fight for human rights, justice, and freedom around the world. The absence of these struggles will mean the absence of countless victories in civil rights, education, politics, labor, and culture. The world today, shaped by the sacrifices and triumphs of Black Americans, is a more just and inclusive place than it would have been without their relentless fight for equality. Black history. Black history. I had this last thing that I want to read. Now I know I went through a lot. Probably jumped a lot. One thing for sure, two things for certain. This country will never, and I'm going to say this, and I want you to hear me clear. This country will never be great until there is equality and equity for each and every person in this country. So you can listen to these people talk and make America great again when they can't answer the question of when was it great? They can't give you a direct answer. They can't give you a time period. They can't tell you who was in charge. They can't tell you anything about a time when this country was great for everyone, which is the point. They don't care if it's great for everyone. They want it great for the few, for the certain few. But from what I know, and from what I've done all around this world, in the military, and supporting different campaigns in different countries of what was going on, and for them people to have freedom because they had dictators doing this, or like Bosnia, Herzegovina, or when I was in the Philippines, when they ran Marcos out, all the different places I've been that we've seen these things where the United States is involved in other people's business per se, to want them to have freedom, the democracy in their country, and we're still fighting for it right here. We are still fighting for it right here. Each and every day, those people put on a uniform and go out there to the front lines in another country that look like me, fighting for the freedom of another country. When they come back home and they're still treated like less than. This is what we're talking about. So before someone wants to come out and say, make America great again, and you can't pinpoint a time when America was great for everybody, shut up. Because this country will never be great. Will never be great until we have equality and equity in this country for everyone. Whether you're an immigrant, whether you were born here, or whether you're coming here to visit. Until this country has it across the board for everyone, no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from, this country will never be great. Never. And I said it. Mark it down. Michelle and Summerall, they won't tell you when they felt it was great because they know that it's a fire starter. It's a fire starter. Because they can't defend it. They'll say, oh, make America great. When was it great? For everyone. And then some of them will say, well, we were great during slavery because the black folks were in their place. They were happy to be slaves. They had houses. They had meals. What? Are you serious right now? But as I said in the beginning, some of us got comfortable because we feel that we're in that greatness of this country. And coming from someone who served in the military for 21 and a half years of his life, and then civil service for the 10, as I mentioned. It sometimes makes me question the decision I made to stand for this country in spite of. In spite of. When I know that there's people like me that have lost their lives for this country, in spite of. When I know there's people that came back from wars missing a leg and an arm that look like me, in spite of. And then they walk up to you, and if they see you with your, veteran hat on, or Vietnam veteran, or a veteran hat, or something that deals with military, say, thank you for your service. Well, you thank me for my service, but you won't thank me or allow me to be a part of this country that you say is so great. Really? Really? No days off. 24/7, 365. Black, 24/7, 365. No days off, no erasure. I wrote this. Being Black in America is not a seasonal experience. We don't get to clock out. We don't pack away our Blackness on March 1st like a decoration, only to pull it back out next February. We are Black every second of every year, every day, every month, every year. Yet every year, we watch as Black History Month gets treated like a temporary acknowledgement, a brief moment when the world decides to remember our struggles, celebrate our triumphs, and recognize our impact. But when the month ends, the tributes fade, the corporate campaigns shift, and the lessons disappear from the curriculum. The world moves on, but we can't. Because we don't get to take a break. We wake up Black, we go to work Black, we raise all our children Black, we walk into every room carrying our history, our resilience, and the weight of a system that wasn't built for us. We fight to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, not just in February, but every single day of the year. And the fight is far from over. There are forces working right now to erase our history, to rewrite our contributions, and to silence our voices. They ban our books, distort our truths, and push policies meant to keep us from knowing who we are and what we've built. But we will not be erased. We must push back. Teach our history at home. If they won't tell the truth in schools, we will tell it in our own households, in our communities, and in our words. Support Black excellence. Our businesses, our creators, our leaders need us, not just in February, but all year long. Speak truth to power. This is a big one with me. Speak truth to power. Challenge the erasure. Call out injustice. Demand that our stories be told fully and truthfully. Don't let them whitewash the history of what we know to be true. Call it out. Stop letting it go. Stop acting like he just don't know what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. She knows what she's talking about. The inconsistencies of what they're telling you, what they think they know of Black history and what they truly know, they are omitting facts for their benefit. And we accepted that they just don't know. They know. They choose not to acknowledge what they know. Our ancestors didn't fight and sacrifice for their stories to be reduced to a 28-day highlight reel. They lived Black 24/7, 365, and so do we. So as February comes to an end, understand this. We are still here. We are still thriving. We are still fighting. And we will never stop pushing forward because Black history is not a month. It's a lifetime. Black history is not a month. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. 24/7, 365. No days off, no erasure. Black history is not just a chapter in time. It is the heartbeat of resilience, the soul of perseverance, and the power of unyielding greatness. Next Saturday, the 28th of February, I seen an email and I don't have it in front of me, but somebody can chime in if they want. There's supposed to be a boycott. Don't shop here, don't do this, don't do that. Walmart, Amazon, don't buy online on that day. One day, on the 28th of February. I understand the concept. I understand what we're trying to show, what we're trying to do. But what's next? What are we going to do on the 1st of March? What are we going to do on the 1st of April? What are we going to do throughout the rest of this year to show our impact about what our importance is in this country at this time? And I ask that because our signs of what we want to do, how we're going to go about it. It's not going to change things through a text message or a Facebook post saying boycott this on the 28th. There's something more that we're going to have to do to impact what's going on in this country. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to minimize the 28th. I'm not trying to minimize that. But what I want you to realize is one day of us not shopping, what is it going to do? Because most people, from what I know, are going to go out on the 27th or before the 27th to do everything they need to do. So what you're not doing on that day, you plan to do days before. My question would be, after the one day, do we go to 3 days? Then do we go to 7 days? Then we go to 14 days? Do we go to a month? What are the next steps that we're going to do to show our impact about what we're going to stand up for in this country? Because I say that because looking through history and reading books of history, the bus boycott was just one day. You know, when the marches went on, those were protests that one day, but there was a purpose and there was a reason behind them. There was something that drove it. I only ask this because I want us to make sure that what we're doing is not just because. I want to make sure what we're doing has a cause, has a purpose, has impact on going forward. Because as we mentioned, Black History Month is not just 28 days. So if we're not going to narrow our history down to one day, we shouldn't narrow ourselves down to one day. I mean, 1 month for Black History Month, but we should narrow down to just one day of what we're going to do. Now, maybe the one day is to see how we're going to do it, see how it impacts, and then grow from there. I'm cool with that. But I just don't want this one day to turn into just being one day. You understand what I'm saying? I've thought about things of what we could do to impact, what we can do to try to change. You're not going to change these people's minds. You're not going to change their minds. You're hitting them in the wallet. Understand, these big corporations, you know, the Walmart, the Targets and all of them. Yeah, Target lost like $12.5 million because they got rid of the DEI. But how many people are still going to Target? You know, we in OT, we always do A, but forget there 25 more letters in the alphabet. Plan A, B, C, D through Z. You know, it's like, and I chuckle when I say this, it's like a jump shooter. When I played, I mean, I had this bad habit of no follow through. I would just shoot it, but there was no follow through. That's what it is with us now, is the lack of follow through. We have to get back to the point of when we decide we're going to do something, we have to follow through. We have to keep this train moving. We got to stay consistent and persistent in what we're choosing to do. I'm not, like I said, I'm not knocking anything that we want to do. I'm always looking at what's next. What is the next step in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish? Because if we do it one day and then we don't know what we're going to do the next day, what did we do? What did we do? Now I'm all for, I'm planning not to do no shopping on next Saturday or anything like that as well, just like anybody else. I'm with the program. But I'm asking myself, after next Saturday, now what? What can I do to continue the impact that I'm doing? Maybe, and it's just a thought, maybe we need to do each individual store or these corporations individually. One day do the Walmart, one day do the Target, one day do them one day at a time and see how much of an impact they have with us not coming in their doors at that time. 1 month. I don't know, because we've gotten so conditioned to being so free to be able to go and do these things. I think the issue would be where people think, well, if all them doing it, my little bit of groceries ain't gonna make a difference if I go get mine. Oh, ain't nobody gonna know I bought this off Amazon because they can't see my cart. They can't see my account. These are the mentalities. And I go back to when people were in this boycott. They wanted to boycott Gucci. And then you had people in the upper echelon, per se, saying, I ain't boycotting them. They ain't did nothing to me. If they did something to one, they did it to us all. And we have to get that mentality back that if they do it to one, they do it to all. You're not exempt because you got money in your pocket more than me from being called the N-word. You're not exempt from being followed around the store because you got money in your pocket just when you look like me. Your money does not matter when you walk in there if they don't know you. Your celebrity is just that, celebrity. Trent Branch, yes, it has to be a collective movement for it to make a difference. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. And last week, and I want to apologize, because last week I said on here, and I put that post up, and me and OT talked about it yesterday. I want to apologize to all the podcasters out there as far as me putting that challenge out about them, taking 5 minutes out of their show to talk about Black history, to talk about what's going on in the communities rather than the beefs and who's beefing with who and all these other different things. I'm going to apologize to you because I looked at it, but I didn't think about the impact of what it's going to do to your financial income because of who's paying you. I apologize because I know your money is more important than the message. I know your money is more important than those people that you don't know that may be impacted by what's going on around you. I understand. And I got, I'm not saying I'm not going to give you no grace, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that because who's paying you or who's behind your machine of your platform of what you produce and what you put out there, you can only say so much. I'm sorry. My bad. But here, I own this. And I'm going to say what I want, when I want, how I want. What I want, when I want, and how I want. Don't like it? Change it. Just like you can change the channel. OT, we own our own stuff. Yes, we do. We own our own. And I had this thing this week, and I'm going to be transparent for a minute. I've been looking for jobs. I've retired back in August, as everybody knows. I said, I'm going to get back in the workforce. I can only do so much. You know what I'm saying? And I asked myself, I've been sending out resumes and things like that, and I'm pretty well experienced at what I do. And I had this doubt creep in my mind. And I asked myself, that little one on the shoulder said, hey, you think you're not getting any job offers or nobody's contacting you because they've seen your Facebook page and what you talk about? Do you think that's why nobody's calling you for interviews or offering you jobs or anything? And I heard that. And I listened to it. And then I started questioning myself, asking myself, do I need to change how I present and what I talk about on my platform in order to get a job in this economy? Because, they'll go look at your Facebook page, they'll go look at your Indeed, they'll look at these things and they draw their conclusions about who you are, what type of person you are, where you fit and all these type things. And I sat with that for 2 days. 2 days I sat for that and I asked myself, do I need to change who I am when I turn the camera on? Do I need to pull back a little bit? Do I not need to speak my truth as eloquently as I try to do? Is there some changes I need to make in order for me to get back into the workforce? And then I prayed on it. And God said to me, be you. Be you. All I needed to hear. Because at the end of the day, I thought about this. In this world, in this country, right now, you have white supremacists in the Congress. You have white supremacists in the Senate. You have white supremacists as CEOs of companies. You have white supremacists serving in the military. You have white supremacists embedded in the fabric of this country, all around this country. And if somebody doesn't want to hire me because I'm speaking the truth of what it is to be a black man in this country and how these things are affecting us, then the hell with them. I don't need your employment. I don't need your job. Because I refuse to get back to being and acting like somebody that I'm not, just for employment. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm going to keep sending resumes out, but I'm good. With a job or without a job, I'm okay. Because right now, at this time, it's the first time in my life, it's the first time in my life that I've actually felt free to be me. Free to say what I want, when I want, how I want, and to who I want. Without any restriction, without anybody overseeing any of that. And I say this because I want you to understand. I understand most of you have jobs. Most of you are in environments where you can't speak out and say what you got to say and say what you want to say on that. I don't judge. I've been there. I was there. Everyone comes to a point where they understand their livelihood depends on what they have to do. Don't get me wrong. Your livelihood depends on how you need to carry yourself and how you need to portray yourself. No judgment. But what I will tell you, do not compromise who you are to benefit them. If you're going to compromise who you are because of your job, because of your livelihood, good, but not because of them. Do not do it because of them. You know who you are. Be you. In spite of, be you. OT, my brother, freedom is power. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I say that, and like I said, I want to apologize to all those other podcasters out there and all those other people that may not be able to say what they want to say. I get it. I understand it. But one thing that I'm going to tell you, I'm in this fight, and I ain't going nowhere. Win, lose, or draw, I'm going to be right here every Saturday morning doing what I need to do. Roy Wisman, my brother, great morning, big brother. That's right. Stay unique. Have an awesome weekend, positive vibes, and blessing to you and your family. Always. One love. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. And let me just say this. Facts. I'm still a black man in America. Yeah. Let me say this, and then I'm going to get off here. As I mentioned, we went through a lot of things on how black history has impacted this country. One thing that I want people to realize is that you should never, now I want you to hear this clearly, you should never feel any type of shame or be uncomfortable about being your authentic self. No matter who's around, no matter who's looking, and no matter how you may be judged, be you. God created you for greatness. Be you. No one can take your place. Be you. Your ancestors did everything in their power to get us to this point. Be you. Don't compromise, don't waver, and don't give up. Don't. Without reservation or apologies. And my apology to the other podcasters was kind of tongue-in-cheek because I understand. It's about this. It's about this. I'm cool with that. It is what it is. Elvin Jackson, another great show today. Appreciate you. And I thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But as I said, continue. Be you. Keep pushing Black history. Keep pushing what you know. And look, here's the one thing that a lot of us don't realize. You are Black history. You are Black history. And I want to give a shout out to my boy OT, because he said something to me yesterday. And I'm not one to look over accolades and different things like that I've done. But OT said something to me yesterday and said, people don't realize everything you've done in your life. You are Black history. And I sat back for a minute and I had to think, when I've done different campaigns and different things like that in my life. My brother has brought it up to me many times. Shout out TC. But you don't look at it in that manner. You look at it, this is just a part of my life. But your life, when you go back and you look over your life, something I've always said on here, celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins, because in this climate, celebrate your wins. Don't let anybody diminish what you've done and how you've impacted this world in your life, the people in your life, and what you're doing in your life. You have impacted folks. Celebrate your wins. But when it's all said and done, be you. Be you. Be you. And without fire, appreciate you, bro. Sharice Joseph, good morning. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Great show. Have a great weekend. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'll be back again next week. We'll get back into some other stuff, but I wanted to close out this final weekend of Black History Month with some Black history information, something to give you y'all. And, that's what we do. Appreciate you and your platform, brother. Keep it moving. I shall, bro. I shall. We got some big things coming. I'll let y'all know about that. Anybody that hadn't gone to the site, lifegisticscoaching.com, life with a Y, gistics, lifegisticscoaching.com. That's the website for the coaching. If you know anybody that needs some help, send them towards me. I'm taking all clients. Michelle Summerall, I know you're still on here. I owe you a call because I got to talk about some things, but we'll get into that. I appreciate y'all. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. You may waver, you may shake a little bit, you may backslide, but hold on. Hold on to his unchanging hand. He has never left you nor forsaken you. Hold on. Change is coming. Hold on. Change is coming. I love y'all, and I'm out. And I'll see y'all next week. Peace.